Hey everyone, and welcome back to my Daily News X, your 9 minutes deep dive into one of the most critical decisions unfolding right now in the war in Ukraine. Well, I'm your host Kramer, and I'm glad you could join me in. So let's jump straight into this so we can understand better the situation and what's happening. Today we're talking about the decision by the United States Department of Defense, the Pentagon, to clear the potential transfer of long-range tomahawk cruise missile systems to Ukraine. So what it means and the ripple effects across diplomacy and war. All right, guys, so what's happening and why now? The Pentagon has given the White House the green light to supply Ukraine with Tomahawk cruise missiles after concluding that the transfer of these weapons would not negatively impact U.S. stockpiles. The decision now rests with the U.S. President, Mr. Donald Trump. Why is this happening right now? Well, Ukraine has pressed for long-range strike capabilities to hit deep into Russian territory a long time ago, since 2020, I believe so, including infrastructure to alter the balance of the war. At the same time, U.S. officials believe the U.S. can afford to provide this without depleting its own readiness. All right, so there's some worries and concerns about all this, and I'm going to explain to you what are some of the issues, because we have multiple fronts, believe it or not, significant fronts. One of them is escalation risk. Supplying Ukraine with Tomahawk missiles with ranges upwards of 1,000 miles means Ukraine could target deep inside Russia territory, including possibly Moscow. So yeah, the Kremlin sees this as a new level of escalation. And they're very afraid, by the way, because this is a very powerful weapon. Number two, stockpile and readiness. While officials believe the U.S. has enough, critics ask enough for what? The war may drag on, and providing advanced systems may limit future U.S. flexibility. Yeah, so if we have limited inventory, we cannot help in certain areas. It will be critical if we get into a war with Venezuela, North Korea, or even China. So we can't do multiple fronts, so it's going to be impossible. U.S. usage and control. Even if supplied, there are questions of training, delivery, launcher systems, targeting, and rules of engagement. So the complexity is very high, guys, believe it or not. Direct U.S.-Russia conflict. By providing such powerful systems, the U.S. gets more deeply involved, at least indirectly. And Russia may see this as a de facto attack channel. That raises fear of wider war. We have another problem also, political and diplomatic fallout. Domestically and internationally, the decision will spark debates about where and how far the U.S. should go in supporting Ukraine. The timing also matters given other global conflicts that we have in place. Yes. All right, let's talk about what Ukraine is saying about all this and how long do they have to get these weapons. All right, so Volodymyr Zelensky has strongly pushed for long-range weapons since the beginning of the war, including Tomahawks, arguing they're essential to pressuring Russia into negotiations and to restore balance in Ukraine. He has explicitly said Ukraine will use such weapons for military targets only and avoid civilians. We're about to see that. That said, Ukraine also knows the U.S. is cautious and is waiting for the final sign-off, meaning Mr. President Donald Trump. On training and deployment, there's less specific public detail. The Tomahawk system requires launch platforms, for example, ships or submarine launches, or suitable equipment land launchers. Analysts point out that Ukraine would need compatible infrastructure and training before operational use. So though the decision may be clear, full ready deployment is not immediate. So it's just a decision of sending these weapons, so nothing has been done yet, so we're just still waiting. All right, let's talk about the other side. What is actually Russia saying about all this, and what does it mean for the war in Ukraine? Well, Russia is loudly warning that such a transfer will be a quantitative escalation of the war. President Vladimir Putin called the idea an attempt of escalation and said the response will be very strong, if not overwhelming. So there you have it, guys. Another Cold War. Former officials such as Dmitry Medvedev have even suggested that once Tomahawks are in play, listen to this, guys, it becomes harder to distinguish between conventional and nuclear uses, rising nuclear risk concerns. Yes. Does this mean we are in direct conflict with Russia, by any chance? Well, technically, the answer is no. But the U.S. is not sending ground troops under a U.S. flag into Russian territory. But By supplying such a long-range strike capability to Ukraine, the U.S. becomes more intimate, involved, and the risk of direct escalation rises. And many experts regard this as a potential tipping point. So yes, there you go. In short, yes, this is a serious escalation of the war. Whether it triggers a broader conflict depends on many variables. Now, this is a big question for us. Does the U.S. have enough tomahawks and inventory for us? According to the research from Center for Strategic and International Studies, the U.S. military has roughly 1,000 Tomahawk missiles in a stockpile that could theoretically be transferred at any time. So, on paper, yes, there are enough. The Pentagon insisted that providing them to Ukraine would not undermine U.S. readiness. That's what the Pentagon says last night. However, enough is relative. If the war drags on, or if U.S. needs expands elsewhere, supply could become a constraint. Also, getting them delivered, integrated, and operational is another challenge, just to let you know. We have another question. How long until Ukraine could use these weapons, and how fast? Well, this is very speculative part because Ukraine doesn't currently operate the full launch systems required for Tomahawks. For example, ships or submarines, or specific land launch variants. It needs training, integration, target intelligence, and operational command structures. The timeline could be months, not weeks. Analysts caution that just because the decision is clear doesn't mean instant deployment. So if you're asking yourself how long from the decision to actual operational firing, the short answer is we don't exactly know, but expect several months at least. I would say roughly 4 to 6 months. Once they have all the infrastructure, the personnel, the weapons in place, and the full training, the least 6 months, and maybe the longest 8 months. But it's definitely Russia's gonna feel this squeeze. So what's next, and how long does President Trump have to sign this document? Well, technically, the decision now lies with President Trump. The Pentagon has done its assessment, and the White House must decide whether to approve the transfer or not. There's no publicly announced deadline by which Trump must sign this paper, but the media reports say that the decision is in the very near term. Given political and diplomatic urgency, the implication is that the decision may come very soon, though exactly how soon is unclear yet. All right, guys, so just to wrap things up with this podcast and give you a small summary of everything that we talk about. So yes, the U.S. has cleared the transfer of Tomahawks missiles to Ukraine, the Pentagon, subject to final approval. So not yet, we have to hang in there. The move will significantly boost Ukraine's long-range strikes capabilities and could shift dynamics of the war. Yes, this is a big game changer in Ukraine territory, and it's going to be a hard time to Russia with these weapons because they're very powerful. But it comes with a steep risk, escalation with Russia, supply questions, complexity of deployment, and broader geopolitical consequences. So there you have it. Ukraine is pushing for this. Russia is warning about it. The U.S. is balancing readiness and escalation. If approved, this represents a serious escalation of war. Not quite war between the U.S. and Russia directly, but very high risk of direct confrontation. The timeline to real use is uncertain yet, and full operation capability may take months, maybe even a year. We don't know yet. The decision could come at any time, so it's worth watching very closely from the White House or Mr. President Trump. Well, thanks for joining in to my edition of my Daily News X. Stay tuned, stay informed. If you enjoyed this breakdown of today's podcast, make sure to share it with friends, family members, neighbors. Subscribe it and drop any questions or topic suggestions for the next time. Until then, you take care of yourself, and I'll catch you tomorrow with new episodes or more news about America. Have yourself a great day.